I think I see medicine as a vocation. I don't see it as a business or a small business. I see it as a liberal art. And, you can spend years reading poetry or studying the works of Joyce or Turgenev or Pushkin, or you can spend a night in the emergency room. And for a lot of writers like Somerset Maugham, who were doctors, the best characters came from the emergency room or the hospital that they were working in. And, I think it's the most liberal of the arts, and it's also a degree that gives you great choice in what you do with your life. You wind up really well educated. And, I would be crap at anything else.
Why do you say that?
I'm good at picking it up. But it's an emotionally complex field that requires compassion and alertness. And not every day do you get it right. And some days you get it really wrong. But it's demanding, and you continue to learn and study and grow. If you don't continue to learn, well, you won't be a very good doctor. I have many incredibly bright friends who trained really hard at university in physics and engineering, and then they never used their degree. And they spend most of their lives waiting for retirement. I think that's a tremendous waste of talent. And if you think of people in the world as elements in the periodic table, like Primo Levi did in his great book, talent is the rarest of the elements in the periodic table of human beings. And what is talent? It's hard to describe, like the word quality, but you know it when you see it. Mm-hmm. I can see it at the racetrack in some young kid who's just really, really fast in the rain in a race car. Or you see it in an artist, or you see it in a singer like Billie Eilish or somebody. And you know that, whoa, that's talent. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Or Taylor Swift, just intrinsic genetic gifts. I see it in inventors, and I see it in my students. Now, the thing is to nurture that talent, moderate it, help it grow, help it be controlled and managed, and help it be expressed. So my job as a teacher is to help people manage their talent, or even discover that they have talent. Like you guys are so talented as a family. You mentioned humor earlier on. I think there's a relationship, for example, between humor and inventiveness. Mm-hmm. It comes from the same kind of unexpected association of ideas with an unexpected result. Funny people tend to be inventive. Mm-hmm. If you put a bunch of inventors in one room, you're going to find out they're actually really funny. But people who aren't funny, you can't make them funny. They can have somebody else write the words for them, and they can say it at the wedding or at a speech, but they themselves will never be associative in that way. It's the same with inventiveness. And so we tend to build in academic institutions like this, these great institutes for invention and innovation, and spend millions of dollars on them. But most inventors do it in their heads, and you can't teach it. And academic institutions will never grasp that. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I struggle with here in particular, where the country has spent about $5 billion on innovation in academic institutions in the last 30 years. The total yield in terms of royalties or licensing fees is probably around $100 million. You have to build a really big boat to turn $5 billion into $100 million, I think this whole area of invention, not innovation, is worth talking about in this podcast, because that's what drives society. And America's very good at this. And immigrants are disproportionately the inventors who created America. 33% of the patent holders at the USPTO are immigrants. 17% of the Nobel Prize winners in the US are immigrants.
Can you
whereas they represent something like only 11% of society.
Interesting.
And so this issue of immigration, of invention, of humor, I think you can bring them together to create a kind of an individual profile.
Mhm.
You know, there's a genotype and a phenotype for that kind of behavior. You know,
And can,
that make
yeah,
sense?
it makes a lot of sense. I want to dive a little deeper into it. So you're an immigrant, and you've how many patents do you have? 81.
81, 82.
There you go. So you're an inventor,
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
that's when you have a lot, when you don't even know. And so,
Yeah.
can you dive a little into the why of it, and maybe through your personal experience? Why do you think it is that immigrants?
Well, I never.
Yeah.
Yeah, they self-select by taking that step to do something risky. You know, whether it be because of war or deprivation or lack of opportunity, they have the Yiddish word chutzpah to go move and do something instead of the steady state of sitting there and disbelieving something's going to happen. And if you look at the American Atomic Energy Program, that was developed and driven by Hungarian Jewish immigrants escaping from the Nazis. Like Slizard, a whole group went to Oak Ridge Labs and built that program. I've been visiting professor twice there. It's the most fabulous place. If you look at medicine in the great U.S. medical centers, UPenn, Montefiore, NYU, Mount Sinai, New York, the ones that took immigrant doctors escaping in the Second World War from the Nazis have evolved and become more creative than the ones who are anti-Semitic and didn't. And I can actually show that in the work I did on patents. And I can show the migration of these people and then the patent creativity that came from them and the change in medicine that went with them. And then as they moved around in a time-lapsed way, you can see the creativity they spread around the country. So migration is a critical element in the redistribution of creativity in the world.
Interesting.
We tend not to see it anymore like that. We tend to see immigrants as a problem. In fact, they bring talent, and they bring a work ethic, and they bring